Hi guys, welcome to another behind the scene video. This one is about Battlefield 1 and we released this video last month, and it was an operation quite similar to the one we did last year with Rainbow Six. So we were asked to produce a video based on the conquest mode of Battlefield 1, so a multiplayer video readaptation. And we had the chance also to collaborate with top Italian YouTubers such as Gabbo di Square and Just Ron, which also worked on the Rainbow Six video last year. And this time we made our acquaintance with Dexter and Mike Shosha, two other top Italian YouTubers. And they also did a great job on set in taking the role of 4 Italian soldiers. Of course, this is not a very serious video. This is not a video about World War I. This is a video about Battlefield 1, which is a very different thing. Otherwise, no one, I think, would have fun playing Battlefield 1 if it was in any way similar to the Great War, of course, which was a dramatic experience. When the client asked us to produce a Battlefield 1 short, we thought, why don't we reuse the same location we used for a Great War short we shot about 4 years ago, which was in Memoria. The location is a secondary peak of Monte Grappa, which is called Monte Palone, which features some trenches which were beautifully restored by the local section of the Italian Alpinis, and they make a perfect setting for the Battlefield 1 short. We only had to do some minor tweaks and some minor preparation on the days which were immediately before the shootings. This time we also had to replicate the FPS camera sensation like we did with Rainbow Six. It was a bit more difficult because this time we will be dealing with World War I weapons, which are heavier and more bulky compared to the weapons we use with Rainbow Six. Now let's go with a breakdown of the most interesting scenes from a technical visual point of view. So let's start with the tunnel scene. Right at the beginning there's an enemy being shot and then catching fire after he falls on a lantern. A pretty complex stunt which was done by our friends from the unit, who also worked on Rainbow Six last year. Then there is the hand grenade being thrown at 2 more enemies. That was pretty difficult to shoot because in this video it's always hard to use practical effects. GoPro cameras have a very wide field of view and all the shots are basically long takes. There's nowhere to hide materials, rigs or collaborators. We had to match move the entire scene in synthesize, reconstruct the general shape of the environment, physically simulate the explosion in Blender and then compositing it into the footage in Nuke. Then at the end there is meta painting insertion that leads you visually to the next objectives the Italian needs to acquire. Next up is the trench sequence. We broke it down into 2 main parts. The first one, Dexter and Mike take the trench from the other faction and put up an initial defense. 2 more stunts from the D-Unit guys, a few VFX explosions, and then there is the break. The following part is more complex. The POV character runs to the machine gun, grabs it and starts shooting. We had to approach the machine gun in a way that the cut between the 2 shots was similar to what you see in Battlefield 1 when you grab a heavy weapon. Then it comes the airplane sequence, which was the most challenging of the whole short. Vehicles are very important in Battlefield 1, and since there were no tanks on Monte Grappa during the war, we only could try a plane sequence. We shot the first scene with Gabbo taking control of the plane with a full-scale working replica of a SPAD from a private museum, which is very close to the film location. And the idea was to use another biplane, a Tiger Moth, to shoot the dogfight sequence. But during a test flight we realized that any biplane would have just looked too slow in the Battlefield 1 video. Also, it would have been very hard to try to replicate the way the camera behaves in Battlefield 1. So we called a pilot, our friend Marco, who owns a much faster acrobatic plane. We rigged his aircraft with a few GoPros and we flew to Monte Grappa to shoot the background plates. We match moved those plates and inserted a full CGI SPAD plane that matched the one on the scene with Gabbo we already shot. And there you go, Hive Division's first dogfight scene. Thanks guys for watching this video and see you soon with new Hive Division productions.